Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand. Welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Tuesday, September 5, 2023, at 3:15 p.m. Eastern. I want to quickly make a comment that somehow somebody has got me passed away. I guess Mark Z on a podcast had said that Jared Rand had passed. And, well, you're listening to me, and I have checked myself, and I'm alive and well, so obviously I have not passed. But I want to quell that immediately. If it does get out of hand, we're already getting calls from people, wanting to know. But it's what happens. People don't, if people want to know how I'm doing, they can just send a text or contact my assistant and find out that I'm doing just fine. How many of us do trust our spiritual connection to this universe? Many believe that they're disconnected, which creates the assumption that we are powerless beings who are not the real manifestors of our future. So when you're looking at how, and it's true, most of us on this planet believe that we're powerless beings who are really not the real manifestors of our future. And we are. So when the ego mind wants full control of reality, thinking that having a stronger, more strategic hold on life is the most optimum place to be when we resist trusting in life. We stop letting in love and honoring the divine mystery that surrounds us. So the ego mind then becomes very tight, tense, demanding, controlling, and worried about everything. You may at times in this life so far have found yourself in that position. So the ego abhors being weak, vulnerable, and unprotected from unexpected change. It thinks real strength is found in hardness and wants total security, safety, and 100% guarantee that this life will be okay. Yet, the ego doesn't realize that this life is a perpetual leap of faith into the unknown. The ego has forgotten that true strength is found in softness, and that water always wins over rock in the end. Our ego is learning how to have a soft, forgiving heart filled with trust, for this is the only way to relax, enjoy this lifetime, and truly become worry-free. Worry, stressful, fearful, it all goes hand in hand. Now, it can be super challenging to stop. We can get accustomed to blindly following the over-analytical, skeptical, doubting mindset and feel this is more intelligent and trustworthy than our free-flowing, spontaneously arising intuition. So we have like an addict inside us, is that part which has stopped appreciating life just the way it is. So in other words, you don't say, which we should be, how deeply grateful we are for the very moment we're in. So the addict inside of us, which has stopped appreciating life just the way it is, feels incapable of accepting that whatever will manifest tomorrow will be for the highest good of all concerned. The warrior inside us is like a 24-hour slave laborer who is constantly efforting for security through pushing the mind to dwell only on a negative perspective of this life. It is logical and so fearful that it believes thinking positively is just some weak, gullible, naive, unrealistic mindset that is unprepared for some potential future horror that could occur. So it kind of tries to negate us. Well, it really doesn't. It negates us from believing in a positive understanding. A great Chinese proverb, which I've stated before, if your problem has a solution, then why worry about it? If your problem doesn't have a solution, then why worry about it? There's not much you can do to convince a super worried mind that a negative outcome is not coming ahead. A biochemical cocktail has been created in that filled brain of worry, stress, fear that make it quite challenging and almost painful. You ever had that feeling? Where it becomes quite challenging and even painful to believe in positive thoughts? You feel this pull, this tug, gripping you toward negative thoughts? You ever felt that way? You know, you're making an effort to be in positive, but yet it keeps pulling you into the negative. So some of us at times will feel at home and life is somewhat under control if it keeps thinking negative thoughts. See, we do gravitate towards negativity. We gravitate towards it. Now, it doesn't mean we do it intentionally, but we're so programmed through the ego mind and other people's thoughts that we gravitate towards negative, stinking thinking. So this brain cocktail generates this right feeling that we should be worried and continue on this path, being even more serious concerned about any potentiality or potentially higher critical or important life situation. The worried mind cannot trust life or take a vacation. It's never a good time to joke around, have any fun, appreciate our spiritual nature, or celebrate being alive today. So when this cocktail of biochemicals have taken over the brain, it is so powerful that the only place to find any freedom or clarity is by shifting gears into higher consciousness. When we interject a steady stream of pure awareness into our mind, we slowly stop believing that our fearful fantasy is going to manifest. You see how it works? The ego mind literally controls us and pushes us and guides us into believing it will happen. What we believe and focus on long enough, we're going to get from the universe. We're going to create it. So the energy of pure consciousness acts like a river of clean, clear, flowing water, which purifies away the negative ideas, which have little foundation in reality. By simply being aware of our consciousness for a few minutes, we can instantly release our ego's need to be afraid and in control. We can begin to sip a deeper succulent experience of this life that feels open, trusting, loves enjoying the sensations of a deeper relaxation inside. The normal self is the mind. The mind is with limitations, but pure consciousness beyond limitations and is reached by investigation into the I, Ramana Maharishi. You could tell yourself 1,000,000 times or more, that not to worry. You ever done that? Yet the reason why it continues is that it is uneducated. It doesn't know how to relax the body, love the mystery, and trust in a perfect future. Relax the body, love the mystery, and trust in a perfect future. It thinks too much, feels too powerless, feels the need to be in control of it all. Yet, when it imagines some fearful scene is occurring, it believes its thoughts are having no energetic impact on the outer environment or people. The stressed, worried mind is ignorant of what quantum physics has proven the past 50 years, that thoughts are things that impact our world. Thoughts are things that impact our world. Every thought and feeling we have is impacting our environment, community, the entire world on some level. For example, it has been proven that a person who you're emotionally close with on the other side of the world can feel it when you shift into a highly emotional state of love, anxiety, or fear. We know people are more prone to doing business with those who live from a state of trust, faith, and connection, rather than worry and fear. We are able to manifest, magnetize, and attract the right people and situations we want when our heart is resonating with the feeling that everything is going to be fine. Have you ever been in a situation where someone says to you, it'll all work out, it'll be fine, but yet your mind is saying, no, it won't, it's going to be bad. Or you'll say to that person, oh, it's easy for you to say, you're not in this mess. So the more we understand the deep power we each hold in every thought we think, the easier it will become to step back from the worried mind and transcend it. If we cannot step away from the mind, we all are mere slaves to its forces. When we look at our stresses and fears and anxieties and worries directly, we may see that they typically are directed at the outer world. The mind tends to get hooked on thoughts and about possessions, money, situations, home life, our physical body, what other people think, if our loved ones are doing okay, and what we will manifest in our future. The untrained mind can worry about anything. It is a real creative genius that will poke around every possible fearful corner. Sometimes the mind will worry about our loved ones, thinking that this is a form of caring about them. We might even feel guilty if they don't worry about them, thinking that not worrying or fearing for their life means we don't truly care about them. The problem with this is that this worrying energy is sending out a negative vibration of fear that is unhealthy, untrusting, unsupportive, and actually pulls their loved ones down energetically. You always should view a person you view them as being happy, healthy, full of energy and life. That's how you view people. Okay? Are you worried about so-and-so? No, I view so-and-so as being happy, healthy, vibrant, joyful, and deep gratitude of life. But how many of us do that? The problem with this is that this energy, this fearful, stressful energy, is sending out a negative vibration of fear that is unhealthy, untrusting, unsupportive, and actually pulls your loved ones down energetically. When we worry about someone, it energetically drains the life force of another person, cutting off our trusting relationship with them and causing them to feel more isolated and lonely in the universe. Be aware. This is an unconscious habit that the civilization has. Worrying is a highly unconscious habit that can more addictive than cocaine. More addictive than cocaine. It can completely destroy a life that was potentially filled with joy, love, and laughter. If we don't learn how to transcend this addictive mindset, the energy can even implode within ourselves. When worry becomes a self-abusive, we perpetually doubt who we are, why we are here, what we are doing, and fear being wrong about everything we say and feel. We can end up doubting our lives on every level. And I've seen this happen. I've seen this happen with spiritual healers. I've seen them, their mind convince them that they're going insane, that they're going crazy. And they end up in an insane asylum. I kid you not, or a psychiatric ward. This is how serious it can become. It becomes self-abusive. We perpetually doubt who we are, why we are here, and what we are doing. And I've heard people say this repeatedly. Why am I here? Who am I? What am I doing? And fear being wrong about everything we say and feel. We can end up doubting our lives on every level. And this can evolve into an insanely stressful way of being that manifests into a psychosomatic dis-ease and eventually death. I've watched this happen several times. And when you talk with these people, they're totally convinced. Now, this is something to worry about. It's vital to create a new response to life, where we are deeply appreciating and trusting each moment, feeling the great goodness of life that is naturally here and all around us now. There's only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things that are beyond the power of our will. Epictetus. So, how many times have you said, don't worry? How many times in this lifetime so far? How many people say, oh, don't worry about it? So there are some basic steps you can take immediately to stop your inner stress, fear, worrier in its tracks and reclaim a life full of trust and joy. Now, the first is to own the fact that every single worried, fearful, stressful, anxiety-filled thought that you have is being generated by you. You're the one creating it. And so you are the one who can stop creating it. If you don't take responsibility for it, you cannot stop it. Simply investigate what is happening inside, and you'll see that your mind is focusing on what it does not want to think, have, do, imagine, feel, experience, or manifest. When you take responsibility for this, knowing you are the master and authority of your next thought process and can simply choose to focus on whatever you want to focus on, you begin investing your time and energy into something fun, uplifting, trustworthy, new. It's empowering to know that we can imagine anything we want at any time. And that new thought process will impact our experience of reality. What if all your time was spent focusing on what you do want to manifest, instead of being invested in visualizing and fearing what you don't want? How would your body feel by the end of that day? When you see that it all boils down to focusing on what you want, you empower yourself to only visualize something wonderful each day. You begin to imagine the warm rays of sunshine reaching into your heart as your feet are cozily nestled in the warm sand. As you're gazing at the orange and pink sunset across the ocean, this thought alone creates an instant happy cocktail in your brain that can relieve you of those thoughts, which are dwelling in that dark, smelly garbage bin, overflowing with anxiety, stress, fear. There is one method to becoming worry-free, which is perhaps the most powerful of them all. I would say that this is the backbone to getting rid of the worry vibe from your life forever. Now, the big secret here comes in learning the fine habit of how to replace worry with wonder. All the stress, fear, anxiety, worry with wonder. Instead of fearing what might occur, replace it with being curious and wondering what might occur. Realize that there are an infinite number of possible outcomes that could manifest at any moment in your future, all day long. Remain in a constant state of curiosity. You cannot be so arrogant to think that you actually know exactly what this universe has in store for you, or anyone for that matter. As we begin to open the door of wonder, we start tapping into this awesome sense of innocence inside. Feels like our heart is a newborn flower opening its petals to the sun. For a few moments right now, allow your heart to feel any feelings you can summon of pure innocence and goodness. Remember what it was like when you were a fresh newborn baby who knew absolutely nothing? Playing in the dirt, making sandcastles, looking at butterfly passing by. Recall what life was like to be curious and about everything. To be curious about everything. We are always relating to life in a state of awe about every little thing around us. We see this amazing universe for what it truly is. This is the path of perpetual curiosity, and it destroys worry, stress, fear, anxiety instantly every single time. Implement this simple curiosity switch. The moment you find your mind going into that darkness of stress and worry and fear, with a bit of practice, the mind will shift gears automatically and will be replacing worry with wonder for you each time. You'll soon discover that your time here on this planet will naturally be filled with wonder, making every day absolutely wonderful. Another powerful tool to transcending this is to strengthen your mental discipline and focus. When the reins on the mind are too loose or too tight, remember those wild worry horses inside will go crazy and trample all over your life. Every day we need to strengthen our spiritual connection to our innermost being. This manifests through opening our heart to nature and creating roots in spiritual trust with wings of divine curiosity. When we simply trust that life is always guiding us towards a greater and higher good, we can rest easy inside. We can remain open and curious each day along the journey and allow the spiritual goodness find us wherever we may be. Those of us who have been playing the worrying, stressing, fearing, anxiety game for years might have turned into worry zombies. You feel you are not used to trusting in life, feel numb to love, lightness, joy, or orgasmic pleasure. You could have become a zombie. To step out of the zombie zone, pull back strong on your mind's reins. Steer those crazy horses back in the soft green pasture and the pleasure pastures of the heart. Hold the mind firm on the energy and feeling of trust. Feel that one positive thing that you love in this life is here now, and give it all of your appreciation. Devote yourself to trusting life. Repeat and feel all day long that you are now trusting life. Be committed to living in a state of wonder. This inner devotion to you will change everything for the better. Another effective way is using the breath to expand out of your worried, stressful, fearful mind and enhance your positive state of being. Literally takes 30 seconds to make this change. Just inhale slowly for 10 seconds. Hold your breath for 10 seconds. And then exhale slowly for 10 seconds. Feeling trusting energy is growing inside. Practice this breath cycle for 3 minutes, and you'll find yourself entering a very calming, centered state of mind with a peaceful, still awareness. If you cannot find a few minutes to breathe, just even take one long, deep breath into your heart the moment worry creeps in. You'll create a more expansive, relaxed sensation in the chest, and you'll be able to instantly step back from the worried, stressful, fearful, anxiety-filled mind. Be aware that awareness is always the main core ingredient needed for creating a worry-free mind. Anytime you find your mind beginning to go into that area of the goop about anything, retreat back into what is aware. Step back into the ever-present witness of the mind. Be the observer. Be the one watching the thoughts float by without participating in their drama or story. Witnessing means having no attachment to the outcome. This is one of the most essential and instantly effective worry-reversing habits you can practice. To permanently move your head out of the land of worry, stress, fear, anxiety-ville forever, you'll want to take a long, deep, honest look at what your personal issues are typically about. Why are you so attached to these particular issues and not those other things? Get curious about the subtleties around this worry habit, and you'll find out what your innermost fears are and why they are here, why they are there. Explore, investigate, and then digest what your soul is truly longing to experience. Get to know yourself more deeply and intimately. We must choose to understand the different forms of false security our ego is reaching for and why. If we ever want to fully relax into our spiritual essence and truly be free from this perpetual search for safety the ego is craving, so you make this commitment to explore what it's like to replace all of the stress, anxiety, fear with wonder for the next 7 days of your life. Turn it into a fun, empowering new homework assignment, because we got way too much of it on this planet. Be devoted to experience what life is like being full of inquisitive awe and wonder. Even write down what results manifest in your life from abiding in this state or perpetual curiosity. Take notes on how your heart feels by the end of each day. Just by wondering, you'll see new positive opportunities, and people tend to manifest in their lives, and that you're naturally having more fun in life with this open, enlightening state of mind. There's many things that you can do, like obey no orders except those from within. The only God is life itself. Truth is within. Do not look for it elsewhere. Truth is within. Do not look for it elsewhere. Love is prayer. You pray to the God that you are. Emptiness is the door to truth. It is the means, the end, and the achievement. Life is here and now. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, but here and now. How many of us live fully awake? How many of us live fully awake? Picture yourself in an ocean, a pool, body of water, right? What do most of us do? Swim. Right? We swim. You might want to try, this is an analogy, float. Float in the water. Now, when you totally relax, totally, and because, see, even though people think they relax, they don't. They stiffen and shit. Float. Float in the water. Die each moment, okay, so that you are renewed each moment. Die each moment so that you are renewed each moment. Stop seeking that which is, stop and see. Stop seeking that which is, stop and see. So when we look at the lives that we're in, right? And we begin to understand that we are a God within the body. So, and God is life. And we understand that there are beings that believe that the opposite, that life is nothing and should be destroyed. To be powerful is to be calm within your heart, not on the surface. A lot of people try to play the calmness on the surface, right? But inside they're like a time bomb waiting to go off. But I'm talking about the calmness within all of us. So when you look at something, you're calm about it. You don't freak out. You're just flowing. And you see stuff as that. Now, we have a choice to look in the direction of what? To look in the direction in deep, eternal gratitude, gentle kindness, generosity of ourselves in the now, and what we want. We do not focus on all this crap out there. We don't focus on it. Why focus on it? We're focusing on what we want and not what we don't want. And that takes a lot for us to master. You're not going to be able to just kind of, pay a couple of seconds attention on it and have it work. But you can see how we're controlled by the ego mind. We're controlled because we gravitate towards the negative. That's the only reason. And you know, okay, that you say to yourself, why am I gravitating towards the negative all the time? I want to be positive. And I want positive things to occur. But yet I get this gripping and this pulling. It's like at times a tug of war where you fall into the negative. And the positive is our natural state of being, but we've become so accustomed to focusing on the negative that we're comfortable with it. Isn't that wild? We're comfortable with it. Nothing happens unless you create it. Bottom line, nothing happens unless you create it. You're the source. So you can become more and more aware, and you can say, hold it, hold it, hold it. Hold it here, horsies. Let's pull back on the reins a little bit. We're not going there. We are not going into that direction. So you stop yourself, right? Lovingly so. And then you shift gears and you go in the opposite direction. I mean, you know when, don't you? You know when you're, stopping off in the ego mindset of stress, anxiety, fear, worry, right? You know that, and you can feel the difference in the frequency field. Can't you? You look at the difference when you're happy, joyous, enthusiastic, compared to doom and gloom. And it gets many of us focusing on what? Doom and gloom. It seems pretty simple, doesn't it? Right? Well, I'll just shift gears and I'll focus on my breath. I'll practice being in the now and deep eternal gratitude. And I'll be gentle, kind, generous to myself, and everything should work out just fine. And you know that, okay, so the ego mind is going to do everything it can to keep me in what? In that insecure, worry, stress, anxiety-filled life. How many of us are actual victims of it? Worried about this, worried about that, worried about this, stressing about this, stressing about that, stressing about this, stressing about that. And some of it is so minuscule, but yet some of us embrace all of that muck, goop, and we swim in it. And all life long. That's why I repeatedly say, it's all about you. You don't understand yourself, you're not going to understand anybody else. You don't love yourself, truly, not superficially. You don't deeply, genuinely love yourself, you're not going to deeply and genuinely love anybody else. If you don't feel happy, joyous within, you're not going to feel happy and joyous outside. It all stems from within us. This is kind of a mastership that we're all enjoying in this particular life. It's a mastership for each of us. We master the understanding that the body is not me, but it carries me around to experience the physical material world. And when we start identifying with that, and we're not talking about ridiculing ourselves, being hard on ourselves, any of that. We're talking about being soft, gentle, kind, and generous with ourselves and humble at all times. And so what we're doing is we are shifting the gear. We're shifting it, and we're changing lanes. Or you could picture you're on a train track, and the coupler shifts you off to the right. You peel off from the center, and you go off to the right. And you're off onto a different entire trail. But when you look at, when you look at the turmoil, right? And you look at all this stuff blasting all over the place, you can choose to be totally at ease and peace in the eye of that storm. Total silence. Someone might say, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? I really haven't given it any attention. I'm focused on what I want in this life. I'm not focused on all that stuff. Well, it's important. It's serious. Well, you choose to be that way with it. That's your prerogative. I don't choose to be that way. That's just another trap to suck you right back into the crap. You can view things from externally, right? You can view things, watch things, be curious about things. But you don't have to be in that crap. You don't. It's our choice. One of the things we all have a propensity to do as a civilization, gossip. Gossip. Rumors. Gossip and more gossip. Creating things that don't exist out of thin air. Correct? Right? You've seen it. And it never goes anywhere. And how many times have you been told something and then you find out it's just a bunch of crap? It has no validity to it or anything. And you could have sworn that it was the truth. You could have sworn it was the truth. You could have sworn it was right on the money. And then you find out that it was totally bogus, totally made up. So the trust is with you. The love is with you. The gentleness, kindness, generosity, and humbleness is with you. Prosperity, wealth, abundance, generosity is with you. Prosperity is with you. It's all with you. It's your choice. And you can become more aware. You leave the mind and the ego alone. That's what you do. You focus on the breath. Leave the mind and ego alone. And only be in the now. Be amazed when you become still as a statue, you're in a comfortable position, and you focus on your breath, on what happens. But doing it, a minute every month, once a month, and it's not going to get anywhere. But see, a lot of us, even though what I share with you is absolute fact, you can research it till you're blue in the face. It's a fact. We create our lives. We create them. We have an empty vessel, right? As babies. We take in other people's thoughts, programming, and then we become large bodies, larger than a baby body, right? And we take all this stuff in. It's like a sponge, brand new sponge out of the wrapper. Start pouring water on it and have it absorb the water. And unfortunately, what we're pre-programmed with, other people's thoughts, is repetitive. And that's why the past always repeats itself. You ever notice that? It always repeats itself. Why is that? Because they're doing the same thing. But I don't think we're aware of it. We keep doing the same thing over and over again, and we keep getting the same results. So in this quiet time of meditation, view it. Leave the mind and ego alone. Really. Focus on your breath. You don't need to overdo it, just with ease. Focus on the breath. Be in the now. Talk with the universe. What that does right there is you step away from the mind and the ego. And you'll find they're not there. When you're in the now, they're not there. They will never be there, but they will try to pull you out of it. And if that happens, not a biggie. You just go right back to the breath. Focus on the breath. You're back in the now. And this stems from everything. When you're in the now, are you afraid? Nope. Do you have any fear at all? Nope. Do you worry? Nope. Are you stressful? Nope. All of that is literally melted away in the now. Sure, you allow the ego mind to pull you back in to yesterday and tomorrow, then the suffering starts again. Doubt, worry, fear, lack of confidence, lack of trust. So it's pretty common sense, right? Okay, so if I go over here, this is what's going to happen. If I go over here, this is what's going to happen. You kind of have a feeling, see. So if when I immerse myself into believing in the joy and the happiness that I am within this body, then that shifts everything. Or if I believe that the doom and gloom and stress and anxiety and fear and worry is what life's about, then that's the life you're going to have. And more stuff will be dumped on you by the universe because that's what you're attracting. By lowering your frequency, you're attracting lower frequency harmonics. So lower frequency harmonics of things coming into your life are going to take place. And the more you move into that, the more crap you're going to have slung at you. It's so important to know this and practice it and not have, and eventually, the ego mind won't be able to pull you out of it. It won't. It won't stand a chance. And you'll feel the difference. And you'll know the difference, which then you'll become self-motivated to go into higher awareness. It's like we worry about things because we're so attached to the ego mind. It's stressful. I'll join you in the meditation, and I'll return to close us out. Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose, and an easy and slow breath out from the mouth. Remain still. Focus on the very center of your body and mind. Now, imagine roots of light shooting deep into the center of the earth and spreading out in every possible direction. Rest in this calm-rooted energy, connecting with the entire planet for a few minutes or even hours. From this grounded space, you will effortlessly manifest anything your heart desires. The infinite power to manifest your dream is ready for you to create that brilliant thing you wanted right now. Take this with you for the rest of the day, into the evening and night, and the following morning. We will return here Wednesday, September 6, 2023, 3:15 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation call and the Time for Change call.